Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Awesome Dynamic Show. This is Terry Levin, the Director of Sales for Awesome Dynamic, and glad to have you with us. Want to say hello to everybody who's here with us. We have our owner, Paul Dorian, with us. We also have Tim, we have Robin, and we have Blake here adding their expertise. Everybody want to say a quick hello?
Ahoy.
Hey, ahoy, ahoy.
Ahoy. I like it.
All right. So today we are going to start off with Robin, as we always do. But I did want to mention that while you're logged on watching us, there is opportunity for you to ask any questions that you have. Also, you can always email Terry at awesomedynamic.com with questions as well. And with that, I want to get right into our topic of the day. So, Robin, what is that topic?
It's all about Yext. Is Yext worth it for SEO? All right, so what is Yext? If you're not familiar with Yext, you will be if you start doing SEO, because Yext is a company that allows you to speed up your citation process. So basically a citation is any instance of your business name, your phone number, and your address online. You can think of it as like thousands of online phone books. And as you can imagine, to fill out your name, address, and phone number on each one of these is going to take a long time. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes and longer if you're new to citations to fill out each one of these. It's the same as, for example, Facebook is a citation. So it's like making an account, confirming the account, going through to the screen where you can find where to put your name, address, and phone number, actually filling it out, then waiting for it to get approved, then verifying, and finally getting that name, address, and phone number corrected online. So there is the alternative. There's many alternatives here that we're going to talk about today, but the main one we're going to be focusing in on is Yext, and if it's worth it to pay the, let's see, how much is it? It's between $200 and $1,000 per year to get these citations updated and then also to keep them updated. So basically Yext is a one-time service that you fill out with your name, address, and phone number for your business, and then it automatically fills in the top 50 citations, which hold the most weight. There's thousands of citations out there, but the top 50 are really the most important. So many of these places have outsourced their actual citations to Yext. So, for example, Yahoo is one of the biggest clients of Yext. So it'll be sites that you're definitely familiar with or you've heard of, but you can actually go into each one of these websites and do it for free on your own, or you can pay Yext to do this for you. And I'm sure that Paul has a lot of things to say about Yext.
I actually had a question I want to ask you first. Do you know offhand just some other companies that do the same thing as Yext, just so that our viewers might have an idea of, who might be approaching them or what some other alternatives are, who else is doing this kind of work?
Yeah, there's a couple different ones. Some of the top citation companies include Moz.com, WhiteSpark, and BrightLocal.com. So those are just a couple alternatives to Yext. They're actually all pretty much cheaper than Yext, and a lot of them are one-time fees. Moz, I think, is a yearly fee of, I think, like somewhere around 80-something a year. Or you can, there's a lot of alternatives you can do as well. So there are definitely some alternatives to Yext.
All right, great. Paul, did you want to jump in on that a little bit at all?
Yeah, the WhiteSpark.ca is a great company out of California. Bright Local is a company we work with. They do the citations. There are a few other ones that are out there. So there's certainly alternatives, not necessarily for someone to manage it for you, but those other companies will help you do the citations. But it's not really a management service. I also know of UBL, which I think is Ultimate Business Listing. Used to be really popular before Yext was around. And there's other services that say they'll manage all these different things for you. In fact, a lot of business owners get called all the time by, let's say, the phone book, Yellow Pages, Yelp, and they'll say, oh, we're going to do some stuff for you. And some of the stuff that they say they'll do for you, they kind of roughly allude to helping with your business listings, and that's roughly alluding to the idea of fixing your citations. So they kind of do it, but usually they are really good about snaking out of being really accountable and transparent about exactly what they're going to do. And Yext probably does better than the rest of those, but even there, Robin will get into why you may or may not want to use Yext because there's a lot that you could really do without them. Back to you, Robin.
Sure. Okay, we're going to go over the different ways you can tackle these citations. But first, I'm just going to show you why we should even care about why your name, address, and phone number is on these sites and why it needs to be 100% consistent. And we're talking about, I mean, if it's a capital T, capital S and lowercase t for street, it has to be literally that for all of your citations. If there's an extra comma or an extra period, you could get ranked lower on Google. So that's why this matters so much. And citations here are, you can see this part of the pie, and this is how you rank on Google, basically. So it's a big part of this and this together really combined. So you can see that about a third of this pie is just for citations. So that's why this matters so much.
Robin, before you run from that, my favorite pie chart there, could you, as long as we're on there, just sort of show everybody who's watching where the social media part of that pie is? Because we know we're always talking about how important these things are comparatively.
Sure. So social media, if you spend all of your time on social media and think that's going to help you rank on Google, that's only 5% of the reason why you rank on Google. So you should really be spending 95% of your time on these other items, which we have lots of blogs on awesomedynamic.com/blog, and we have lots of webinars on that subject specifically.
So we're not saying that you shouldn't spend some time doing some things on social media, and depending on the type of business you have, it can be more important than in others. But this really illustrates what we're talking about today and how valuable it is and how much better your time will be spent on that than posting some things on Facebook, for instance.
All right. So the first way is to just do them yourself. This does take about 2 to 4 months, and it takes about 20 to 80 hours, just depending on how quickly you do it and how fast you can pick up citations or business listings. So it is a good alternative, but you either need time or you need to hire someone. So that's one alternative. The other alternative is you can hire an SEO company. So that'll take you about 1 to 2 hours, because you'll have to fill out a sheet, and you'll need to let them know which citations you'd like to do. But you do get a little bit, you get more personal attention, and you also know that the citations are done correctly, because some of these automatic sites, such as Yext and some of these down here, it's an automatic form they'll fill out. So if something's wrong in that form, it'll now be copied wrong to all of the hundreds of citations out there. And they multiply too. So if you fill out the top 10 other citations and other websites and social media and all these other listings, they can copy that information from those sites, and now it's multiplied across the whole internet, causing you potential harm on ranking on Google. Okay, so hiring a professional, usually around $60 to $200 an hour is an estimate, but you get it done right. Combination of 1 and 2, you can actually do some of the citations yourself, and also hire an SEO professional to get maybe the top 50 done, and then continue on training, doing it yourself. Or you could get, let's say, your front desk person, or maybe your niece or a college student. You can hire them at a lower hourly rate, like let's say $10 or $15 an hour, and have an SEO professional train them for a few hours until they get the hang of citations, and have them do it that way. That's a great alternative as well. You can hire a citation company. Or do you guys want to comment on any of those first 3 there?
The one thing I want to say is I know when we get involved in this, a lot of times when we're digging a lot deeper, I mean, we've been talking in terms of maybe a top 50, but this is there's probably hundreds of them that can be done. I know I've heard you guys talk about utility bills, and so there's a lot of it out. So you can dig deeper than that. I think that's one of the things that might happen when you're using a professional, is you'd be able to get a little further. Probably the efficiency would allow them to dig a little deeper and get a little further. And there's probably new ones popping up pretty regularly as well, as you said, because other people copy them and they pop up all over.
The one thing that I wanted to say is this idea of hiring somebody that whether it's a college student, a high school student, somebody that's savvy, that can really pick up how to do something pretty quickly on their own, regardless of whether or not they have computer skill. Obviously, computer skills will help. But another thing that really helps is somebody who has patience and dedication, because the process of doing citations is not easy. It can be frustrating, and a lot of it's just a lot of persistent follow-up. A lot of things in technology can require patience and persistence, and this is one. So if you're looking to hire somebody to do this, if you can free up a person that has some of those different qualities, that could really be a great way to get this done. And the key is when you are doing that is to really well document everything that they're doing, because it does take a long time to get some of these citations completed.
Yes, it's extremely detail oriented.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
We're talking about
what Terry
the
said.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Robin.
what Terry said was a good point. There's a lot that these companies won't do for you. For example, he mentioned bills and like utility bills. That's where a lot of these companies get your information initially. So if you think that you've never filled out a citation online or a business listing, maybe you filled out your Facebook page and your Yelp page, but that's it. Chances are you probably already have at least 100 citations online. So where are these companies getting that information? They're getting it from Google. They're getting it, let's say you handed out a business card and someone entered in that information into a database. That could be a place. Your utility bills, when you magazine subscription to your office, that could be another place they're getting this information. So if your business license as well. So if you have the wrong information, the wrong business name, address, and phone number on those items, or even if you change locations and it's an old address, that's places where people can get this information from. Then it goes out on the internet. Then it multiplies into tons of places. Actually, Paul, if you can pull up that chart of that like brain chart of how they're all interrelated.
Yeah, I will dig that up. Give me a second. I don't have it at a moment's notice, but I could probably pull it up in just a few minutes here.
All right. And then another alternative is you can hire a citation company. So we briefly touched on this with Moz, White Spark, Bright Local, and a few others out there. But a lot of times I'll see that there's a margin for error. And they only give you a certain amount of a guarantee rate. So if you do it yourself, you're going to get 100% guarantee rate, which means you submit these citations. So let's say you submitted 50 or you submitted 100 that you wanted. Most of these sites will only give you a 70% or less guarantee rate, which means if you submitted 100 sites that you want, they're only going to be able to do 70 of those. And you're going to be left with, you're going to be missing some. Another problem that these automated sites run into is there's phone call verification sometimes, and they can't do that. They're only doing the automatic verification to know that you're the business owner. So you're going to miss out on any phone call verifications. So that the advantage to that, though, is it does take a little bit less time. Just fill out one sheet, and it's a pretty good rate, but you're not going to get 100%, and also there might be a lot of mistakes. So that could even put you in a worse situation. And the last one I have here is using Yext. The downside is it's extremely expensive. And you're still going to get those types of errors. You're going to get maybe a 70% guarantee rate, but they say that it's 100%. But if it's a phone call verification, it's going to be difficult to get to that 100%. It also doesn't guarantee that the citations will be filled out 100%. For example, Angie's List, it takes about 45 minutes to really fill that out 100%. So Yext is not going to spend 45 minutes filling that out for you. They're only going to do the name, address, and phone number. They're not going to put, and maybe some pictures or business description. So this is definitely a downside to using Yext. Plus, it's at least 200, usually around $500 a year for the average business.
They're not going to spend
So
45 minutes doing that for you?
right.
That's a great point, Robin. Some of these do take quite a bit of time, and they're not going to spend the time. They're not going to spend the time dedicated to making sure it's absolutely right for you. And that's one big thing that any of these companies that you pay, and it seems like it's too good to be true for the money. What was the cost between 300 and
Between
800 a year?
200 and 1,000 a year based on what subscription model you want.
And if there are hundreds of citations to do, thousands even, and each one takes anywhere between 15 and 45 minutes to do, either they're getting the best labor rate in some foreign country ever, or they are cutting corners, and I'm going with the latter.
Yeah.
Or both. I got that graph up on my screen. I'll share my screen. Blake, if you'd change the focus. This is just a really cool chart to kind of let you know what the ecosystem of the citations are. You see it's called, right now it's on this chart, it says Google plus local. This is back from 2013, but a lot of it's still relevant. Now it's called Google My Business. But as you look around, you can see all the different data directories that are on this chart and how they interact with each other. And the whole point to the citation game is to get all the names, addresses, and phone numbers of your businesses all over the internet to match your Google My Business or Google Local name, address, and phone number exactly. And you can see that everything is a indicator back to Google. And you can see that some influence others. So that's where Factual is one that we actually did a video on sometime in the past. You can see Yext is over here, some of the different things that they influence. You can see the things that Yext doesn't influence. So there's certainly a lot of places you can put information. The Factual one is free to do. I think you can only do it once per year. Here's the UBL that I mentioned earlier. So there's certainly different places you can put your information that will spread to other places on the internet based on where you put it in. Back to you, Robin.
All right, and that covers all of our alternatives, but let's really dive into Yext now. So can you actually get all those same listings without using Yext? Right now you can get the majority of those citations. There was some points in the past where Yext was exclusive. They had exclusive deals, but I know some of those have been legally overturned. I think Yahoo was one of them, so that they had to provide that free listing option. Yeah, so but just because they provide the free listing option doesn't mean that they make it easy to find. You may have to go through like a bunch of different pop-ups, a bunch of different ads, go through 10 different screens, try to put that free listing into your shopping cart, get to a page where you have to put in your credit card, or they make it seem like you have to put in your credit card. And then finally, when you get to the last page, it says, okay, there's $0 in your cart, but you've bought this free listing, and now you can actually check out, and you don't actually have to put in your credit card. So you can skip over any citations that make you pay, because there are some paid citations, but you should not have to. Some of these are like they make you look like you're going to have to pay for it, and you actually don't. So one way around this that I use is I just Google, how to get a free business listing on Yahoo, or how to fill out my citation on Yahoo. And then chances are someone else already did it, especially if it's a top 50 citation, and the instructions, it'll be there like step by step, or it'll take you right to the page you need to go. So the majority of time spent on these citations is just finding where you need to copy in your business name, address, and phone number. So that would only take 30 seconds to do, but finding the actual citation and where to put it in and making the account, that takes about 15 minutes.
Sounds like fun. Robin, I think I've heard you say this before, and I think it's a great tip that bears repeating. You want to talk about the email address you want to use when you're filling all these out, if you're doing them yourself?
Yes, you are going to get a ton of spam if you sign up for hundreds of these citations. They're going to email you at least once a day each. So you definitely want to make another Google account, so you can make another free Gmail email account and then use that for all your citations. Can you use the same password? Yes, you can use the same username and password for all of the citations, with the exception of if they have their own. So, for example, Facebook has @facebook.com, so you can't use your Gmail for that, but you can use the same password. And then, Yahoo, you have to use @yahoo.com when you make an account. So definitely don't use your real email address, but when filling out the public information, because these citations can actually be used to contact you. For example, like Yelp. People use, Yelp all the time. They use Yahoo. They use, Google My Business. So put your actual real email that you want to get contacted on, like your general contact info email, on the actual listing. But when you're making the account, use that spam email.
All right, good tip. Save people a lot of time and aggravation. All right, so are we ready to sum up?
Well, the one comment that I wanted to make about Yext is, they'll tell you if you call them up and you get them on the phone, they're going to tell you they're going to do all these great things for you. They're going to take care of them. The person that you're talking to that's trying to sell you the package will promise you the world. And with any of these companies, whether it's Yelp or any other company that might say they're going to help you with the SEO, start asking really specific questions. Ask them how they're going to report it to you. Will you tell me how many citations exactly I'll get per week? Will you provide me links to them so I can double check them after you're done? How are they going to handle the phone verification? You start asking some of those questions, you'll find that the person on the phone will, in many cases, just not have a good answer or even just hang up on you. So that's when you know that maybe they're not doing everything that they're promising, because when you start asking about the specifics, they're not giving you great answers at all.
All right.
Yes, and there is some rumors of when you stop paying for Yext. We've seen like a lot of different studies, and that if you stop paying for Yext, that your listings start going down, and it can affect your Google ranking as well. So when you're doing these citations, you want to make sure that 100% of your citations are consistent with name, address, and phone number. But is that realistic? You're probably never going to get 100% of your citations consistent online. But if you can get the majority of them, and let's just say you get 75% of your citations online, they're all 100% consistent. Well, that's going to send some good signals to Google saying, okay, this is definitely the right name, address, and phone number. It's the same as if you opened, say you had 10 phone books and all of them listed a different phone number. Well, now you don't know who to call. Or if you have all your old business addresses, you don't know where they're located. So that's why it's such an important ranking factor on Google.
All right. So you got to start somewhere, and you got to dig in, and doing as many as you can and doing more than your competition is really where it really starts. Fair enough.
Well, I think Robin did a great job putting this piece together. It's really about the alternatives. So we constantly get people asking, when we teach them how to do the citations, man, Yext just showing up everywhere. This is such a pain to do. Should I just pay them? Don't fall for this temptation. So there's a lot you could do to get around them. They don't control everything. And in fact, there's a big deal in the news not too long ago about how the only way to change your Yahoo local listing was through Yext, but because there was so much rhetoric out there about how that was unfair, or what people were saying about it, they then turned it back open so people could update their Yahoo local listing, but it's still not really intuitive on how to get there. And that's really one of the biggest pieces that's really frustrating about doing the citations, is figuring out where to go and not pay. And they don't really make that super clear. But yeah, we could do lots of these different webinars and blogs about specific issues that people have about webinars, and we could certainly add those in the future. Now, Terry, I think we're wrapped up on this one. Do you want to promo some of the different things we do and the like?
I do. I do. That's my favorite part of the whole webinar.
But let's lead in before you do that. Please stay with us. Hang tight for the next segment, which is on really important thing, which is Amazon reviews, and that's going to take up their second half. So hang tight while we get through this quick advertisement here from Terry. So Terry, take it away.
All right. Great tease. I like that. So I wanted to just make sure everybody who joined us today knows what Awesome Dynamic does, and let's get up the website is up. There we go. And let's take a look at what we do. So basically what we're trying to do is get you new targeted customers. And as I've been saying of late, you've heard me say it before, our new customers are calling us looking for our help and our services, and that's how we want it to be for you. We do that with great responsive web design, getting you a great looking website that is going to look good on any type of device, all the way down to your iPhones and your tablets, because that's where most people are searching these days. SEO, search engine optimization, getting those people to your website, making sure that when people are Googling something that it connects right to you, that you have a great ranking and that you are being found and they are making that call to you. We are Amazon seller consultants. We do a very varied way of getting people more successful sales on Amazon, whether it's a consulting or a full management program. We have several different ways. That part of our business has been just blowing up, and people are calling us from all over the country and even all over the world looking for our help, and that's what SEO can do for you. Also doing the Google virtual tours, which lets people preview your business online, and without actually stepping foot in your business, they're able to take a look at it, get a feel for it. And it's also a great way to boost your SEO rankings, especially if your competition isn't doing one. This is our new website that you're taking a peek at now. Very proud of it. On there, you'll see our old webinars are available, so you can look at review any of one that you want, any topic. Our blogs are on there as well. We have a section for upcoming events. We do live seminars and things in our local area that are available all the time. We also have our awesome list where you can sign up and be kept abreast of everything that's going on with the company, know what's upcoming, et cetera, et cetera. And at the bottom of our page, we have our place for you to review us. So if you find the information you're getting here valuable, it would mean a great deal to us if you would give us a 5-star Google review. We love to get them, and they're very important to us. So that's a quick rundown on what we do, but bottom line is, if you want new targeted customers, we should talk, and I am Terry, the Director of Sales, and Terry at AwesomeDynamic.com. There's a good look at our staff, and also the review button down in the bottom. So that is our quick rundown on what we do, new targeted customers calling and looking for what you do. So with that being said, we will jump back into our next topic that Paul teased. So Paul, you want to intro us in?
Absolutely. And Tim has on his screen our next segment, which is the Amazon how-to responding to negative customer reviews. And there's one really important distinction that I think is that a lot of people don't really understand. When you're leaving a 5-star or 1-star on a product, that's called a review on Amazon. When you're leaving a 1-star, 5-star, or anything in between on a seller that's selling on Amazon, that's called a feedback. So when we're talking about reviews or customer reviews, we're talking about their review of your particular product, not their feedback on your seller account. And both of them have a very important there's a very important distinction between them, and they both influence certain things in terms of your ranking on Amazon in different ways. But this presentation is really all about the customer reviews on the products, and what we'll do is put together a completely different presentation on how to handle feedback on the seller account. So with that being said, I want to flip to the next slide here, and I would like Tim to go ahead and run down the 3 different ways to react to a negative review.
Great,
I got
thank
a
you,
4th
Paul.
way that I could add in there too.
Okay, so the 3 different ways that we can get a negative review removed from a product is either by asking the customer to review their review or to revise it. And we're going to go into a lot more depth on each of these topics as we go through this presentation. The second option is to ask Amazon to remove it. Then the third option is to, if neither of those happen, then all we have to do is comment publicly so that we try to mitigate the damage that negative review can do.
And then the 4th item is get really upset and say something that's combative, which would cause a huge problem. And that's what a lot of people end up doing with their reviews, whether it's on Amazon or public forums such as Google or Yelp. And those things can really cause a downward spiral, and you get an argument going back and forth, and that's just not good at all. That's not good business. It shows the customer that you're not really caring about the other customer when they see those different responses and exchanges. It's just not a good thing to get into. So when you do respond, there's certainly a technique to it, and that technique is really to have a really, really customer service centric response. So with that being said, we'll let Tim start talking about the revision or removal by the customer.
All right, so the first thing that you want to do is address the concern that the customer has in that particular review. So if they have a specific reason why they gave it a negative review and it's something that you can fix, then by all means what you should try to do is to attempt to identify the problem and help them solve it as quickly and efficiently as possible. So the things to keep in mind while you're doing that is you always, like Paul was alluding to earlier, you always want to remain polite and courteous the entire time that you're interacting with any customers. The second thing is you want to make sure that you apologize sincerely. Offer a refund. Now the big thing is you can't incentivize someone to say like, I'll only give you a refund if you change your review to 5 stars. That is whole and whole not allowed by Amazon. And then the third thing is to basically try to advocate for yourself and say, the really big thing is having this one negative review is really damaging to our brand, and try to ask them if they don't mind removing the review because it can have a really bad effect on your sales.
And let me jump into that a little bit further. The other thing you could do is assure the customer that the issue that they have is not typical of the issue that your other customers have. Of course, if that's true, you can assure them that you're doing everything in your power to solve the problem. You could say, let's say they're criticizing some aspect of the product in terms of its quality, and you could say that's something that we've gotten the feedback from other people, and without your great feedback on that, I wouldn't, we wouldn't know how to improve our products to make them better, and we're going to do everything in our power to get that resolved. And when we get a new one, we'll send one to you because you should never be unhappy with it. So I've I can get into that a little bit more. That's not necessarily incentivizing. That's just great customer service. You're just going to say, you know what, let me offer you a refund, and let me get you the new version of it when it comes out. And who knows, that could earn you a 5-star there just for being such a customer-centric company that's responding to their situation. So there's certainly opportunities there to take a look at rather than just getting upset with the situation. And you can appeal to their goodwill to change that review. Now go ahead, Tim. Get into the next don't.
Okay, great. Yes, the first don't. So we kind of talked about some of these. We touched on them a little bit. But the first thing is you do not want to be combative or argumentative. Again, always remain polite and courteous. Always be very customer-centric and be positive. The second item is, again, do not offer the customer any incentives. So that's akin to telling them that, hey, I'll refund you this if you change your review. You can't do that. You can only offer and do the refund and hope that in good faith the customer will change their review based on your customer service and what you promised to do.
And on that one, Tim, it's really important how you frame your language. So
Yes.
If you're going to be sending this through the Amazon system, there's a big difference between I'll refund your money and send you a new one if you change the review, or you say I'll refund your money and give you a new one, and we would appreciate if you would change your review. So you're not asking them to do it, you're not telling them to do it, or that there is something consequential or dependent on it. You're just stating your appreciation if there happened to be a change. And that's where the nuance in the language that you choose to use can be really important.
And you say if we'd appreciate if you changed to a 5-star review, or do you have to say changed your review?
That's where you could probably say better. You might be able to push that envelope and say 5-star, but then that's really getting walking the gray line, as we like to call it. Tim, would you agree on that?
I would definitely agree with that. There's you can certainly say that you always strive to get 5-star reviews, which is completely truthful. But it kind of goes to our last point here, which is don't pressure the customer.
Right.
That's probably the most important thing.
Right. And that's where, we strive for 5-star reviews, so we'd appreciate you to change your review. So then you're not asking for 5 stars. You're asking for a better review if it was a 1-star, and you're telling them where you're looking to attain, but you're not connecting the two together. And that's where that specific nuance really helps you avoid violation of that policy with Amazon that can get you in trouble.
Okay, so the next method that we can use to get a review removed by Amazon, or to change, I should say, correct a review, is by having Amazon remove the review. I actually jumped ahead one too many. So this may actually be a better approach to do first, because there may be a technical reason and there might be a violation in what the reviewer is doing or saying in the review. So if you can get it removed by using that information, then that may bypass the need to be able to contact the customer at all. So we usually recommend going this route first, as opposed to doing the whole contact the customer directly.
So what are some examples of ways, things that would happen that would fit in this category?
Some examples of what could cause a review to not be kosher, so to speak.
Yes.
Blake actually has a whole bunch of them. Blake, last time you jumped in on this, and you had a great list of different things that would be violations, essentially. Do you have that handy?
Let me pull that up really quick, and then I'll get right back to you guys.
All right, so he'll pull that up in a moment. Tim, why don't you get into the procedure real quick, and we'll come back to that.
Yes, so the first thing you want to do if you want to request Amazon remove the review is you go to the product detail page and you find the review and click on report abuse. And so we have a little picture here showing you where that button is on each comment, on each review. Then the next thing you do is when the pop-up window opens up, all you have to do is put in the reason that you want it to be removed and click on report as inappropriate.
And it looks like Blake is ready to go on this, and he'll be able to give us some of those different reasons. But before he gets into that, yeah, this example that we have on here, it might be tough. Yeah, this person said better off using a plastic take-home box from a restaurant. Glue some fuzz on the inside, and you're pretty much replicated the product. Definitely not worth the price. Might be justifiable to the purchase if it was only $5 each. Well, I got to tell you, if it was a take-home box from a restaurant with fuzz glued on it, I wouldn't pay $5 for it. And this is an example where I don't know if we could even get Amazon to do anything with it. We could probably try. I don't know if this one would be one that we'd be able to get anywhere with. You call it garbage, but that's not really something that's going to cause a violation. And I think this is one of those examples where we have the person's name here according to their pen name on Amazon. So we could try and track down that person on our seller account, email them within the Amazon framework privately and say, look, we don't want you to be unhappy with anything that you buy, because we believe, and this is something that I firmly believe in, you should ever pay for something that you're unhappy with. So let me give you your money back. Don't worry about returning the product because it's on me. So you can keep the product, you can throw it away, you can give it to a friend. You don't have to worry about returning it. You've got all your money back. There's no restocking fee, none of that extra stuff. And I just want you to be happy with our customer service. And we always strive for 5 stars. And if you wouldn't mind making a change in your review, we would really appreciate it. And if I can send you anything else, is a demonstration of maybe one of the other products, because this one specifically I know is about a plastic jewelry tray that we do have a lot of customers that love. But there's other versions of it that are of wood, and you know what? I'd be happy to send him a version of the wood one, and maybe that's going to make this person really happy. But basically, we want to change this negative product review into an opportunity for a 5-star that could even boost sales. But unless you go through those steps to make that happen, it could be difficult. But with that being said, I want Blake to talk about the different things that are a violation that could be used to remove a review on Amazon. Blake, you want to take it away there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul. One thing to keep in mind, folks, is although it is okay to ask Amazon to remove a feedback, especially if it violates their policies, don't be overbearing about it, because Amazon is not a fan of that, nor is their customer service, and there's a small chance you can ruin your internal reputation with them. So make sure you're only doing this if it's violating these policies, such as a fake review. So someone can leave a totally unrelated review, and that counts. An unhappy customer that writes several negative reviews for the same product counts as well. Opinions are definitely review violations if they are of the company that was commissioned by a third party, such as like a publisher, a manufacturer, and any other third parties for that product. Time-critical materials such as advertisements, seminars, presentations, that stuff's just not really allowed. And comments on other reviews also count as a violation, such as reviews that are commenting on a different product on that same page. Sorry, that was a little confusing. Spiteful remarks are definitely not allowed. Obscene language, tasteless content, and even one-word reviews are not allowed. So if it just says good or bad and they gave you a 1-star, that actually counts as a violation. You could go forward with getting that removed. And a couple other things you don't want to be putting in there, that you can report as a violation are phone numbers, email addresses, URLs, personal information, advertisements, and details about the price or the availability and delivering options of an item. So overall, Amazon wants you to review the product in a professional way, and they don't want you looking like a Joe Schmo, essentially. So because their reputation is on the line, and the vendors that they buy items off of are on the line. So just keep an eye on your reviews, and if you see anything violating, go ahead and submit it for removal.
Yeah, Blake, that was a great rundown on that. With the URL one, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but I'm curious if even an Amazon internal link would also be a violation, something I didn't even think of before. That would be a great question to ask if we don't know already, but we'll certainly find out.
Yeah, that is a great question.
Yeah, so I think that would be interesting to find out. I see reviews all the time. You talked about reviewing other products or mentioning other products in this product review. I see that kind of stuff all the time. Usually, it's when someone's leaving a 5-star and they're saying, hey, I was looking at a steam, a vacuum, or a carpet cleaner / upholstery cleaner, steam cleaner. And in it, as I was taking a look at the review, this one review, they mentioned 5 other cleaners that they got and links to all of them, and they're talking about comparisons between them, and then there was even a section that said, well, I really hated this one and this is why, which was really useful information to me, but that company that owns that product probably didn't want that one review removed because it was a 5-star in their product. But if it was a 1-star, 2, 3, or 4, that could be a technicality to get it removed. And from a seller standpoint, we only want 5 stars. We don't want 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s. Maybe the 4s are okay, but I'd rather have all 5s. And anything that's a technicality with like a one word or things like that, just get rid of them. I mean, there's so many opportunities there with technicalities. Not only these reviews, but feedbacks, which we'll talk about in another webinar or another video here. Using those technicalities to your advantage to really position yourself in the best possible light is so important to the optimization of your Amazon presence. So if you're not utilizing it, it's just a missed opportunity, and you really have to be doing it. So let's move on to the next portion here. Tim, you want to pull up the next slide?
Yes. So the last way that you can address any negative reviews is to comment publicly on them. So this is if all else fails. The customer just did not want to change the review. Amazon didn't remove the review because it doesn't violate any of their policies. Then the next step is to comment publicly on it. So it puts the review in the right light. It allows you to share your side of the story, and it shows that you as a seller take this problem seriously and that you appreciate their feedback. And as I said before, if all else fails, this is a way to help mitigate the damaging effects, even though it may not affect Amazon's algorithm to determine what your sales rank is. It will impact when someone says it's like, well, why did people give this a 1-star review? They actually read the 1-star review and they say, oh, the manufacturer responded to this. It then de-emphasizes how damaging that 1-star review is.
I want to comment on that one too,
yeah.
Because there is a way to. Well, we always say with the Google reviews, it's better to make them look crazy than it is to let them make you look bad.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an opportunity to do that without being combative, where you can mention certain facts that maybe you dove into that other casual observers of the negative review might not realize. So one of those could be you can click on their reviewer profile and just mention the fact that every single review that they've had was a 1-star, and they've only reviewed 2 other items ever, or things like that. You could say, well, I looked at your profile, and I noticed that there was only 3 other reviews, and they're all 1-stars. You're not saying that's good or bad. You're just mentioning a fact. Now, that can kind of cross a little bit into potentially being combative, but if you frame that language in just the right way, it can kind of call that, and maybe that included with some other stuff might be a good way to go, where you're really calling to question their sanity, which can really decredit their 1-star review as something that might not be something that other people might find helpful, which there's that little button underneath. And I'm like, well, is this person crazy? Do they have a particular issue with something? They're only leaving 1 star, so should I really trust them? They don't really have. So those are the kind of, what do they call it, reasonable doubt. We want to cast some reasonable doubt on their reviewing ability, which is something that could benefit you.
Great, and we have a list here of all the essentials to keep in mind whenever you do respond publicly to any negative reviews. So the first one is always remain polite and courteous. This seems to be a recurring theme through this whole entire segment here. I always want to make sure that you're positive the entire time. Sincerely apologize for any inconvenience. So you really want to show sincerity. You want to, make sure that you're not just brushing off the customer's concerns when you respond to it. You really want to show that you take their comments very seriously. Explain what measures were taken to solve and prevent the problems that occurred from happening again. So this was referring again back to what Paul said before, which is we recognize that this was a problem, and we have since corrected the problem, and a new version of the product will be coming out that doesn't have that same problem that you had before. So that's an example of how you can show that even though this was a negative review, that it's something that has been addressed. We again touched on this before. This is offering a partial or full refund without any incentive. Again, that goes back to don't say that you'll only. In fact, this one really doesn't just says we apologize. A good way to frame this is we apologize that you were very disappointed by this. We have taken the liberty of refunding your purchase. You don't need to send it back to us. We want to make sure everyone is 100% satisfied with the product that they purchased from us. The other thing that you can do is offer the customer a way to contact you directly. This again shows sincerity in wanting to make sure that their issues are addressed and that you have a real concern about their negative review. Comments should be specific to the review rather than a form template. I think this is a trap that a lot of people fall into, which is they have one really well-written response to a lot of these, and it ends up being very cookie cutter. And I think people are very sensitive to that nowadays. They don't appreciate it when you don't put that personal touch whenever you respond or email or do anything like that. And of course, you want to make sure you thank them for their feedback, and make sure that you say that you are part of the team that that made the product itself. Is there anything you want to comment on any of those, Paul? Or Blake?
No, well, that specific piece, being specific to their particular situation, is just really important. You don't want them to feel like they're just another person that's getting the same stock response all the time. And just think about how you feel when you call in to any sort of customer service place, and all the person that's on the phone is doing is reading you whatever's in front of them over and over and over again. It's like, I remember, Terry, you said you called the Comcast about your internet issue, and you told them everything that was happening, and they basically asked you if it was plugged in as their first question after you described the entire problem. Was that something that was pretty close
and then
to
they
your
went,
story?
and then they sort of repeated everything I said, and afterwards, and I said, yes, that's what I already told you. Now we need. So they were, yeah, that's all they were doing is sort of either going by a form or just sort of regurgitating back. And I think on Amazon, I was going to say that I think it's even more apparent and more painful to the consumers we're looking at, because if you ran down a whole listing and looked at a bunch of reviews and saw almost the exact same language used, it's even worse than just hearing it, and then hearing it, you're seeing it, and it's like, oh my God, this guy's putting the same paragraph response to every single person that doesn't like something he's done or something about the product. And that makes it very hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's even more important. I do have a question for you guys, as long as I have the floor here for a second. With our Google reviews, we always talk about responding to positive reviews as well. We haven't really talked about that here. Is that something that we're recommending that we do as well?
Certainly couldn't hurt.
Yes, it certainly can't hurt, and it can certainly show, because the idea there with responding to all reviews, whether they are positive or negative, is to show you care. You care about your customers. You care about what they think, and you want to show that through your customized responses to each and every review. That can be such a powerful thing. And
Now, is it okay? I'm sorry. Is it okay? Like we talk about sometimes in the Google review scenarios, is it okay to maybe lead towards another product that they might enjoy if they enjoy the one that they've bought from you as well?
I think you could probably do that. That might be, again, dancing on that gray line. Per Blake's list of different things that are violations in terms of review, usually in the world of Amazon, they got billions of products on their website and lots of different things they're looking at. So if you were to do it, it might be dancing on that gray line, and you're probably not going to get dinged for it unless someone reports it. But yeah, that's a risk. So if you start doing that a little bit too often, getting a little bit too specific, linking to things, alluding, you could probably allude, hey, this we appreciate your feedback. We have many other great products that you might want to check into. That might be the farthest you want to go. If you like this, you'll really like, and then you send them a link to another product that you have there. That may or may not be appropriate, and that's another thing that we should certainly look into, because that is cross-promoting, and it does benefit Amazon's best interests. So that's something that could be okay, but I've never been asked that question before, so we'll look into that and get the answer.
And that's I think really the big thing to keep in mind whenever you talk to customers is that Amazon is all about the customer experience. So long as what you are doing is very customer focused and doesn't blatantly violate any of Amazon's policies, then I think that Amazon will usually side with you whatever you decide to do. So I don't want to say that's an endorsement to just do whatever you want to do, but using your best judgment to figure out how best to solve each situation is important.
That's such a great point. Focusing, if the focus of what you're doing is for the best customer experience possible, usually you're covered. And if it's self-serving in some way, then you have to be careful. But if so if you're promoting another product, that's where that dancing the gray line. But if it's really going to benefit if the customer says in their comment, "Man, I love this. I'm really looking for another product that will pair with this, but I wasn't able to find anything." So what you could do in that situation is you can proactively find that other product. Maybe it's somewhere else in Amazon and they didn't find it. You'd say, a lot of our customers have said the same thing, and this is one that we recommend, whether or not it's yours, because you're really providing the best possible customer service experience to that person. And that's what Amazon really endorses.
Great. And then just remember, whenever you're doing any of this, don't be combative, don't offer any incentives, and don't pressure the customer. So those are the essential things. And we just want to show really quick how to actually leave comments or to respond to reviews in this way. When you log into the account, at the bottom of the review, you can just click on Post a Comment, write your comment in this box, and then click on Post. So pretty straightforward, very similar to report abuse. You can see the report abuse number link is right next to there. So in this case, you would want to post a comment to there.
Bada bing, bada boom. So in
Great.
conclusion, you gotta just let go sometimes. Sometimes there is no good way to resolve the problems with customers. And the best thing to do is contain any damage or repercussions, or just have a really good response that's customer service centric, but you may not be able to get it removed. That's just something where if you can't find a technicality, you can't get them to change it, you just have to move on and focus on getting more 5 stars from new customers to kind of bury that review. And Tim has here, the worst thing that could happen is having a problem customer responding in a way that gives other customers hesitation to purchase from you. And that's just so true. You just can't get into a situation that's argumentative or combative, because that could result in less sales than that 1-star review is already causing a problem for. So you can't get into a situation like that. So just don't let it get to you. Sometimes I've talked with so many business owners that just let it really make them go insane about how they got this 1-star review, and they just like, this person, they just get really upset. Sometimes you just got to let it go and focus on what's the next step I can do to bury this with a lot of 5-star reviews. Do you need to improve your product? Some sellers aren't really thinking about it from the perspective that maybe all these reviews are an opportunity to improve what they have for sale, instead of looking at your product and saying, you know what, my product's decent. These people are crazy. If enough people are saying one thing is true on negative reviews, maybe it's the product, maybe it's you. And sometimes it's hard to admit that, but that's a great perspective to be open-minded, because ultimately you want to make money on Amazon. So you got to provide great products, take the reviews seriously, and modify and make offerings that are going to be really great for your customers. Tim, any final thoughts on that?
No, I think we really covered everything. Just be customer focused. That's really the biggest thing.
Terry, any last thoughts before we wrap it up here?
No, I don't think so. I think that was good, very informative, and I think that'll help a lot of people with their Amazon review situation. So if nobody else has anything to add, I'll do the wrap up.
Do the wrap up, Terry.
All right. I want to thank everybody who joined us today for doing so. We're here every Thursday, so tell your friends. Let's get them here. If you have some specific questions about Amazon selling, about websites, SEO, please bring them here. And if you would like us to review your Amazon presence or your website presence or anything and have a look at it, get in touch with me, Terry at awesomedynamic.com. We'll be more than happy to do that for you. So for Paul, Tim, Robin, and Blake, I want to sign off, and we will see you guys next week at the Awesome Dynamic Show. Thanks for being here.